up. Thumbs down. Big Papa Pump needs your hookup. Holler if you hear me. What else we got? Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Let me in.
Say, dummy. Dummy. Yeah.
Well, the HeelCast is back this week. After last week, we were unavailable because I was gone and Goldberg was gone. But have no fear, Goldberg is with me tonight. Goldberg, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, brother?
And returning to the HeelCast is none other than CS. CS, how you doing?
Doing good. What up, boys?
Oh, not too much. We'll get our plugs out of the way. Want to plug Wrestling with Wrestling. Andre Corbeil, great follower. Check his page out. Also, check out People's Championship Wrestling. They're doing some good stuff. So make sure you check them out. Also, check out impactasylum.net. They've always been a strong supporter of the HeelCast over the years. So with that, let's jump into the news. I think the big headline, at least for Impact fans, would definitely have to be Ethan Page. His contract is coming up at the end of the year, and there seems to be some significant interest with AEW. I honestly think at this point, it's going to come down to the highest bidder. CS, what is your thoughts on this?
Hey, this man, whatever he asks for, this guy is money. He's gold. I would not let him go. He's just perfect for the company, and letting him go to AEW would be just letting him, lose all his, I don't know, credibility. I wouldn't say that, but just he has a history of being like very pro TNA. So he puts a lot of effort into promoting the company. He also, is very good at getting his brand out there. He's pretty popular. So I think to let him go and let him go to AEW would be just a terrible idea. Impact should do everything they can to keep him. What do you guys think?
Goldberg.
Yeah, so I think a couple different things about Ethan Page. So, I mean, I know he's Scott D'Amore's boy. I know they're good buddies. I guess business is business, but I don't really see Ethan Page leaving. Also, the guy has been working out. I don't know if you follow him on social media. He looks tremendous right now. He's in great shape. And based on what's going on, I guess we won't spoil anything for later in the show, but if Ethan Page, I could see him getting an Eli Drake type run as a singles competitor if it ever did come to that. And I think letting him go, I agree with CS. It would be a mistake, man. This guy's money on the mic. He's good in the ring. He's getting in shape. He's losing the flab. He's an A+ to me, man. I wouldn't let this guy go. What do you think, Hurls?
Yeah, I definitely. He's like you said, everything he's doing, he's proven that he's earned whatever contract he's going to give. And I know it's tough right now with the COVID stuff, and I know Impact shelled out a bunch of money for, a lot of these free agents to come in, but I agree. I think he's a guy you got to keep. I really love what the North have done. I think they've been a very, very strong tag team. One of the best throughout the past year in Impact for sure. And now you got the Machine Guns and the Good Brothers. I think it would be a very wise move to sign this guy to another, at least a good 3-year deal. I think give the guy what he wants, and he's earned it, in my opinion. He's done some really good stuff. So, and you're exactly right. He's promoted TNA. He's a very big fan of, the TNA brand. And I think, having a guy like this, I think you got to keep him for sure. So
could you guys see him having a big singles run?
He's definitely world champion material. I think
Yeah.
I think they could make up for the mistake they made with Eli Drake, with Ethan Page, because he is spectacular on the mic, and
Right.
he could definitely bring the company back to where it should. Like right now, the championship is just kind of crappy because, well, we'll get there, but they need someone with a personality, with a character, with a talent on the mic, and someone who can definitely tell a story and not just give you the basic wrestling.
Right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I think personally he could definitely branch out into the main event scene. He's got the charisma and he's got the mic skills to do it. So definitely he's a guy that you could give the strap to. I think he has to be a heel, of course, but I think he would be a strong champion if that's the route they want to go. I'm also a big fan of Josh Alexander, and maybe we see a potential feud between the two because Josh Alexander, to me, he's a technical wrestler, and he kind of reminds me, he's got a little bit of Bret Hart in him, a little bit of Rick Steiner just because of the headgear, but I think that could be a feud in the making, possibly if they wanted to go that route. But I definitely think, they definitely have to re-sign Ethan Page. No question.
No, he's got a little MJF tendencies in him.
Yeah.
He's a good shit talker.
Yes. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Well, he also, he also can do comedy. He played the Joseph, or was it Joseph Park? No, Chris Park? What was his? Why am I blanking on?
I don't know. I've seen enough comedy in wrestling. No more.
I can't remember what his name was. CS, do you remember what Ethan Page's name was?
Chandler Park.
Chandler Park. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Right. That's right.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you guys as far as him being a heel. I think he could definitely turn into more of the cool kind of heel and just automatically turn face. I think he has that gift to just turn the audience on a dime, like to get on the side. Because you remember how long Eli Drake played the heel, and the fans were just like begging to turn him face. So I think Ethan Page has that in him as well.
It's a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
I almost forgot what it's like when wrestling has fans. I forgot that eventually they'll be back.
We hope. We can only hope. So the second news story is I probably mentioned this before, but I really kind of want to give its own time. Bound for Glory is going to be October 24th, and it's also going to be on a Saturday. Goldberg, do you like the Saturday format better than the Sunday?
I love it. I love the Saturday format. I think we touched on this once before, and I'm totally on the Saturday format. Enough with Sunday night pay-per-views where, if you have a kid, which I have a couple in the house, and then I can't be watching. We got to take them to school Monday morning, and these Sunday games. It's games. I'm thinking of the Super Bowl too, which I think should be on a Saturday. And I'm totally with Impact doing all their pay-per-views from here on out Saturday nights. I think, and it differentiates them from, from the other companies who will do them on a Sunday.
Well, you got the AEW Saturday pay-per-views as well. But that was more in line with, the Cons owning a football team. Whereas in Impact, they just probably decided that, Saturday is a better day, period. CS, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, Saturday is definitely working. Keep it on Saturday. You got so much more potential with that. So I think they should keep that up and keep going.
Yeah, I agree. Thirdly, I just kind of wanted to ask, did you guys get around to seeing Talking Shop-A-Mania?
I did not get.
Yeah, me either.
No, I didn't either. We all three talked a big game about that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
none of us watched it.
Well, it sounds like all the wrestlers were promoting it in a very strange way, but I guess it was popular. Did you guys hear? Did it get over? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it got. I mean, it looks based on Twitter, it looked like it was a success. But I don't know the numbers. I don't know the buys. Maybe Hurls, the buys. I don't know.
I don't know the buys. I haven't seen anything with that, but I do know it was trending at least to top 10. I want to say it got in the top 10, and it was $15. So that wasn't a bad price for it. I may still buy it at some point.
But I would venture to say that it was a comedy show, was it not?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It wasn't supposed to be taken seriously.
Enough comedy, but
You're kind of over comedy now, right?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with the comedy.
You don't want his comedy.
I'm gonna get one more. I'm gonna get one more good laugh when I watch Mimosa Mayhem. I'm just one more good laugh.
Mimosa Mayhem. Wow. It's come to that point.
That's where we're at now.
See, Chris Jericho's swimming in a mimosa, and then from there I'm done laughing. No more laughing.
Not to completely derail the show here, but have you guys ever had mimosa beer?
No, I have not.
It's actually really tasty. I'll just say that.
Did you have a butter beer?
Yes, I did. But
quite tasty. Very tasty.
Yeah, that stuff is awesome.
It really is.
It is. I actually had a homemade one, and I can give you guys the recipe. Yeah, I'll give you guys the recipe. It was actually pretty good. I wouldn't say as good as in the park, but it was actually pretty good.
That park butter beer is addicting.
It is. It really is. It really is. But all right. So then the next big story that we kind of got doesn't involve Impact, but looks like AEW and NWA are having a partnership of some sort. They've had a few NWA wrestlers show up on Dynamite the past few weeks. To me, I don't understand AEW's gain in this. The only thing I could see them using NWA for is for more female talent, because AEW really lacks it. And NWA's got a few good ones, but at the other point is, I think this helps out Billy Corgan more than it helps out AEW, especially when there's only one person under two people under contract in NWA. So I don't know. That's my thoughts. CS, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what AEW has to gain in all this. I mean, they have the television platform, but I don't know who they're trying to help, if not themselves, but for what reason. I don't know.
Goldberg.
I think AEW, they're the friendly guys on the block. I don't know. Whoever they're friends with, they're going to give a chance to. Their whole organization, their whole wrestling organization is based on their friends and putting all their friends over and giving all their friends a job. So who the hell knows? Maybe they're just giving their buddies some TV time or something. I mean, I get maybe there's something in it for AEW. Otherwise, why? I mean, why would they want to do it? But I wouldn't mind seeing James Storm or Eli Drake on my TV again. So I don't know how far this goes, but maybe they show up.
Mm-hmm. Also, the next news story is Matt Stryker is apparently doing commentary on Explosion with Don Callis. Goldberg,
I just
what
got
do you
on my
think
knees.
about
I
Matt
just got on my
Stryker?
knees and prayed to the gods that this happens. I just praying as we speak. This has got to happen because I think we all know how I feel about the current Impact announce team. And please, let's get a fresh voice. Let's get someone in there who knows how to sell moments. And I mean, I've just had enough. I can't even talk about it anymore. I've just had enough with this announce team. I don't know if it's just, I mean, Josh Matthews is their guy, but I guess Madison Rain is filling in because of COVID or whatever. But I've had enough of him, and I know we're an Impact, podcast, but to me, for the better of the company, they gotta move on from him. Maybe that's too harsh. What do you guys think?
CS.
Get Matt Stryker on there as soon as possible. I don't care how they do it, record ahead of time, whatever, but Josh Matthews, he needs to find a different role. He should try doing backstage interviews too, something. I mean, I role for so why not try someone new? I mean, it might be beneficial. Add a new voice, a voice that people will actually listen to and not run away from. So give him a shot. What's the worst that could happen?
I absolutely loved Matt Stryker in Lucha Underground. I thought he did a really great job. And, we always forget that Matt Stryker was a wrestler. And I thought he actually had a pretty good heel gimmick for a while, the teacher gimmick. And they also moved him to commentary in WWE. But I really thought he shined a lot in Lucha Underground. I don't mind Josh Matthews as much as you two do. I don't think he's good by any means. I think he's just like there. He's just average. He's kind of monotone, that WWE monotone. I think Matt Stryker is a guy that would help with the selling of matches. And even if they bring a 3-man team on, I don't care. Just get Matt Stryker up and get him on commentary, because I think he would be a great addition to the commentary team. So just my thoughts.
I have nothing against Josh personally. I just don't think he's good at what he does. I mean, plain and simple. I just don't. I don't enjoy his commentary. I don't enjoy Madison Rain's either. So, I think they're both terrible. And I think if this is if they're really trying Matt Stryker out, there's no tryout. This guy's established. We know what he can do. Bring him on. I mean, come on.
Yeah, especially if he's already doing Explosion. I hope they keep that up. So I hope he gets the call up sooner rather than later.
I'd rather hear the swingman on commentary at this point.
It'd be pretty entertaining, I'll tell you that much. Oh. And I guess we can bring this as a news story. There has been some accusations of the one and only Dixie Carter possibly, shall we say, mingling with the talent a little more than she should. But I don't really know the validity of this, especially coming from Booker T, who, he's the guy who said that he didn't really take his Impact run serious, and he was on the roller coasters between shows and whatnot. Goldberg, your thoughts on this?
I did hear about this, and I also heard she got a little cozy. She was always seen with Kevin Nash at the bar, but I'm not going to sit here and throw out, accusations. We don't know them personally. So, but it wouldn't surprise me. I'll just say that.
CS.
I don't even want to imagine what that would look like with Dixie Carter and one of the. No, please don't put that image in my head. Let's just hope that that this never happened.
Well, yeah.
She's not so bad looking though.
She's a handsome woman.
And well, also too, the problem with this is Kevin Nash is married, Dixie's married, so obviously, besides the fact of the the cheating aspect.
How many wrestlers over the years have disregarded marriages?
Kurt Angle was married. Jeff Jarrett was married.
Yes, he was. Yeah. Well, his wife died. Yeah. But Kurt was. Yeah, Kurt was.
And they turned that into a storyline.
They did.
Hell, Lex, my favorite. I read this book, Lex Luger's book, a million times. He was married when he was fooling around with Miss Elizabeth.
Oh yeah, that's true.
His wife had no idea. He had bought a whole nother apartment, and he was living two separate lives.
Oh wow!
Great book, by the way. If either one of you likes to read books, I think great. I'm not a big reader, but his autobiography is tremendous.
Is Lex still married?
No. He lives with his mother now. I think he lives with his mother in Buffalo. His father passed away, and he lives with his mother.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a rough life for that guy, but
wow.
Spiritually, he seems on the right track. So.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So, well, that's really all I got to the news table here. If you guys have anything else before I get into the last 2 weeks of Emergence.
Maybe Josh Matthews can ring the bell for now on. He could be the at ringside. He could ring the bell. I think it's a good job for him.
Perfect.
All right. Well, with that, we'll get into Emergence. Since we didn't recap last week, we will just do it as one big review for Emergence. And we started off with Rohit Raju taking on Chris Bay and TJP for the X Division title. We saw a new champion, Rohit Raju, and 2 weeks ago, Goldberg, when we were going through this, what was our picks? I said I wanted TJP to win, but you said Chris Bay. You thought he would retain, but you wanted Rohit to win though.
Oh, I wanted Rohit to win this match more than. I can't remember in recent years watching wrestling wanting someone to win a match more. I really wanted him to win this, but I thought Chris Bay would retain the title because I didn't think his reign would be this short.
See, my thoughts are I just was not feeling the heel Chris Bay because it just wasn't. I don't know. He was just not showing me something. He was lacking something. And I was actually pleasantly surprised that Rohit won the title. And I thought that's actually it was a good way for him to win this. I just the way he kind of snuck in there.
Before you get into the actual match, can we just talk about, you want to talk about natural heel tendencies? You're right. Chris Bay doesn't have it. Rohit has it. He has natural heel. I mean, he's got that charisma to him where he's yelling at Fallah Bahh during the match. Shut up, stay out of this. I mean, he's just, it's not pure comedy. It's, you really think this guy's a, kind of an asshole. I think he plays a nice heel.
CS.
Yeah, I thought they were going to continue with Chris Bay for a little bit longer, but I was actually hoping that Rohit would win it. So I definitely want to see what they're going to do with this. He does have the charisma for being a heel. I think now they have to build on that in these storylines. Right now, start keeping it a little bit too basic. I want to see a little bit more heat there, but let's see where it goes. I think he's a perfect wrestler to take on the X Division Championship. So as long as they start giving him something to work with other than just basic matches, they could build upon this.
What I really loved was the ending where Chris Bay is in the Tree of Woe, and you know, Rohit does the double stomp, but I love the laugh before. It's like, I got you now, type thing. So I enjoyed that, especially with Rohit just kind of getting buried the last 3-4 months. I mean, I know he's probably been buried since he's been on the roster. I mean, he got some stuff with the Desi, but this was nice to see that this was kind of leading to something. So I give Impact credit there, but I know Goldberg, you do have some complaints about Josh Matthews' commentary in this match, as you do too, CS.
Oh, well, a couple things I want to mention before I get on Josh again, and I don't want to get on him too many more times, only like 14 more times throughout the show, but that was a joke. All right, so a couple things I want to say. First of all, Josh was making this. Did you guys watch this match in full?
Yes.
Okay. Did you not feel like we knew Rohit was going to do what he did at the end? Whether we knew he was going to win or not was questionable, but I think we knew he was going to turn at the end and try to win the belt for himself based on Josh and Madison asking us the entire match, well, hey, what will happen at the end if Rohit does have a shot to win this thing? What are your thoughts on that?
I didn't really pick up on that as much as
I think I'm a hater then.
I don't know. Like, commentary to me, it just gets blurred out sometimes unless somebody's really like, you're Don West. Like, you got to be Don West for me to be like really engaged to what they're actually saying. Sometimes I'll pick up on things, but the one thing I noticed that I didn't like was the underselling, and you talked about that before the show. The undersell was just terrible here. We got a new champion. Yeah. Act like something has happened. Don't just go monotone. Oh, new champion. Okay. And then I think Impact needs to let the moment breathe a little bit. They're so quick to rush to the next segment.
They cut right away as soon as and you could see Chris Bay staring up like, what the fuck? What'd you just do? You just turned on me. And they cut away. Like, I was waiting to see Chris Bay beat his ass after the match or something. And they cut right away. CS, did you kind of feel like the announcers were like hinting at it?
Yeah, I mean, they oversell the finish before the finish. They oversell all of that stuff. And then when they do have the finish, they undersell the result of the finish. Like, you're supposed to be building up to the finish, and they give it away, and then, like, you kind of already know it's going to happen. And then they're like, yep, there it is. We're done. Okay, whatever. Yep. And then you get stuff happening afterwards. Like, this is where you start building your heat. I don't understand why they don't like heat. It's almost like they do all these things to avoid building anticipation for something. Instead of, it's like, oh, forget about, this is just normal, conversation, so we're just going to move on. No, this is like part of the story. Start selling that. But instead they just cut to something else.
Yeah, here's one more thing I wanted your guys' opinion on. And first of all, TJP came out of this match. He may not have won the title, but to me, he came out of this match almost as good as Rohit because he beat the shit out of both of them the entire match. It was essentially a 2-on-1 match, and he had control the entire match. He was beating them both up. What made no sense to me is why didn't the two of them beat the shit out of him together throughout the match? They're sitting there taking turns, casually. One of them gets thrown out of the ring, and TJP, he was winning the entire match until the very end when Rohit turned on Chris Bay. He beat them both up. He was even doing maneuvers like he was picking them both up at the same time. This guy came out looking like a champ, even though he didn't win the title.
Yeah, I noticed he did all those moves to both of them. I thought that was kind of cool. He used some different combinations. I'm a huge fan of TJP, and I really would love to see him and Falaba somehow get those tag straps at some point, but I think maybe that storytelling has been kind of past now with where everything's at. But I was just a little disappointed that they didn't get their fair shake.
Before we move on, they have some guys on the roster that you just know they're not going to win matches at this point for some reason. And TJP they kind of feel like one of those tag teams that are just kind of like Reno Scum right now, or Willie Mack, who you just know they're going to lose right now. They're just not winning.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a shift in whatever the booking is. And I'm not saying it's always bad, but I feel, we'll get to the Willie Mack stuff, but yeah. All right, then we had Trey Miguel. He faced Moose. This match to me was Moose dominating most of it, with Trey getting a few here and there, which I was fine with. And, Moose retains, but you also had the EC3 stuff at the end. EC3 steals the title. Give me your thoughts, CS, on this.
I don't know why they even needed to have a match. I mean, Moose could have gone out for an interview, and then, we could have had the sneak attack by EC3. I understand the point of, defending the TNA title, but I just felt like the match was pointless. I could have gone without it. I mean, the action is fine, but it didn't feel like there was a purpose or a point. I would rather have gotten into, Moose coming out and running someone down and starting something up, and then have EC, surprise. So I just, I couldn't get into it. Hopefully you guys have a different opinion.
Before you go, Goldberg, I totally drew a blank, and we can kind of just tie this now, but it should have probably went in the news section. EC3 is debuting for Ring of Honor. Did you guys hear that one?
I did.
Yeah, I heard about it.
Okay, I don't know how we just kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
That tells me two things. A, he's on a PPA deal right now, which is a little disappointing. And B, Ring of Honor, out of all the places, I don't get that one. But I just, that doesn't seem like a fit to me. But
is there a chance maybe Ring of Honor is another promotion he's appearing on, and it may not be the last one?
I think he's going to try to appear on every promotion that he can, obviously. Yeah.
I agree, though. It's kind of disappointing. I want him to be solely on Impact, and that's not happening.
Right.
Do you like... Yeah, go ahead, CS.
Yeah. I think that's how he sells his whole new gimmick. I think he's trying to show that nobody owns him, basically. Like, he spreads his message wherever he goes. So who knows where this is going to go. I mean, hopefully it builds up to something bigger, but it is disappointing to hear him also working with, Ring of Honor, just because it's like, I don't really hear much about Ring of Honor anymore. So, I mean, if this is to help lift them up, maybe secure some sort of deal with Impact, maybe there's something beneficial there.
I think Ring of Honor needed a big splash any way they could, because they've been basically just non-existent since March. I think that they just had to get something, and this helps. And you're exactly right. This is kind of what EC3 is doing with his character. I mean, he said it before. He said no, he didn't sign back. I just hope that this thing with Moose isn't like all he's coming in for. I hope that there's some other things he's going to do. But Goldberg, give me your thoughts on the Ring of Honor stuff, but also give me your thoughts on how do you like the direction of EC3 right now? Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I like the what do you mean the direction that he's going on Impact or the direction
Well,
that he's
I just
going in
feel like we're
general?
not getting enough of them. I feel like we're just getting
Yeah.
very small. I mean, we get these
Which-
run-ins.
but you know
I
what?
dug the fact that he stole the TNA title. I'd like that, but
Yeah, I don't mind because I think you actually mentioned this to me a couple weeks ago. Is that because I think I kind of complained that we weren't getting enough of him, and maybe a little at a time is enough for now to keep us wanting more. Because you know him and Moose are going to meet in the ring eventually, and I've gotten on Impact in the past for just having matches happen too quick, like the Machine Guns against the North. Just having they bring guys in and it just happens too quick most of the time. So you know what? I can't be too hypocritical and get on them for that and then say this is going too slow. I gotta be somewhat fair. So I do appreciate that they're at least building to something, and maybe it will be hopefully a main event or maybe the second to last match at Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory? Yeah, Bound for Glory. Maybe that's when they'll fight. So I'm okay with a slow build.
you're definitely right. I did say that. I just feel like it's like 4 weeks now. I thought we'd get a little bit more, but you're right. I do like the teases, but now I mean, it's 4 weeks
It is
in.
the same thing. To your point, it is the same thing
Yeah.
every week. The same
Yes.
exact thing is happening every single week. So
yes, I mean, the only new twist we really got was he stole the
he took the
TNA
title, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and he gave that promo on that he wants to destroy it, which I actually hope he doesn't because I want TNA to come back. But
you know, before we actually move on from the Moose versus Trey Miguel match, let me just say a couple things. Trey is another one of those guys that he's going to lose every time he steps into the ring. Right now, would you agree with that, both of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially when he's put in the main event against heavyweights.
Yeah. Okay.
Or not even main event, just
he's another guy I
matches.
should have mentioned that's losing every time he steps foot in the ring. But in some weird way, it may be helping him because he's getting all these matches for some reason. I don't know why, but he's getting all these primetime matches. But here's my problem again, and I promise I won't touch on the announcers too many more times after this. But Madison, I had an issue with her in this match where is she not playing the heel announcer? Is that not kind of what she's trying to portray, is that she's pulling for the heels?
I think so, yeah. I think she's trying to, yeah.
Okay, well, at one point in this match, I think it was right at the end of the match. I can't remember exactly the moment, but I think it was near the end of the match when Moose was going for his finisher and Trey ducked it and ended up right under Moose. Did you guys watch this match in full?
Yes.
Okay, so Trey ducked it right at the end there, and then Moose grabbed him by the neck. Do you remember that?
Yes.
While he was under him. And Madison Rayne makes her comment and goes, "Oh, no, no, no. You're supposed to be rooting for Moose. What are you knowing about? You're supposed to be rooting for the heels. Now, all of a sudden, you're feeling sorry for Trey? If you're going to be the heel announcer, be the heel announcer. Let Josh Matthews give a no. Oh, no. Maybe I'm just nitpicking, but come on, it's just that simple heel face announcer to me. Am I pushing it here?
She's trying to play both sides of the fence, I feel.
Pick a side, man.
It's just, it's a little inconsistent.
They're going back and forth way too much. It's like you can't even tell. Is she a heel? Is she she plays both sides, and if she's playing a heel character even when she does her interviews, is she playing a heel interviewer or is she a tweener? Is she a face? Like, there's a way to play a tweener heel, and then there's a way to play a full-on heel. But when you kind of bounce back and forth, between face and heel, it doesn't translate on TV. So they're kind of missing the mark on that one.
Yeah. And Josh he's always asking her questions as if he was a wrestler too. I think we all know that. This guy was a wrestler. He was in the ring plenty of times. He's always asking her, like, if you were a smaller competitor against a bigger woman like Awesome Kong, what would you do? Like, he was a wrestler too, or whatever. I'm like, all right, let's move on from this.
CS, any final thoughts on the EC3 stuff?
I want to see more of him on TV, and not just like his backstage promos, which I love. I think they're great, but I don't know if he's just trying to be a little bit more mysterious, and like the kind of vibe I'm kind of feeling with the slow build is sort of the Crow Sting kind of like just a little bit tease, a little bit tease. But with that, there is a gradual build up until the whole, Hogan Sting Starrcade match. But with this, I think they're kind of keeping it very low to the ground, not really having him pop out enough. I definitely want more, which is good, but like that's almost the only thing that I feel like I'm really like sort of watching closely to. So hopefully there's going to be more material coming out soon.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping. I think I do enjoy these promos, and I do like this darker side of EC3. So I can't say I'm not liking this. But yeah, you're right. If he's doing Crow Sting, yeah, he's going to make limited appearances. But when he does make them, they count. So that's I totally get that, and I do enjoy it. So. Next, we had the tag team match, Good Brothers versus Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. I'll start this one. I enjoyed it for what it was, but we talked 2 weeks ago. This was pretty predictable that the Good Brothers were going to win, but I did like the psychology of. I love the fact that Madman Fulton and Ace were doing that backbreaker, suplex into, the knees or whatever 3-4 times. I did enjoy that. I thought it was a pretty good match. I thought this match had some decent build up to it, or at least for, a pay-per-view with only a month to build up. So I did like the whole story. I did like the promo that the Good Brothers had. I think it makes Ace and Madman Fulton they've both are really elevated in my eyes. I just hope that they're not just going to lose every single battle with them, but it also looks like they might be done with the Good Brothers. So I don't know. CS.
I definitely like the build that they had with the Good Brothers and Ace. I do think that, I think that they make a good team. I would love to see another big man team up with Madman. I think it would definitely give a little bit more even competition with a team like the Good Brothers. I see that this probably is over now, but I think Ace Austin is definitely elevated because of this. He should continue as a singles wrestler, but I would say give Madman, if he stays in tag team competition, to give him someone around his height and size to compete with. I like the Good Brothers. They, like I said before, they're like today's Hall and Nash. So the whole story and the way they carry themselves, the promo they cut, they are definitely money and impact. So whatever they do after this is going to work if they sell it and build a heat. The match was good, and I think now they just have to start something up new so they can carry it on to the next show. But it seemed like it was starting to drag near the end, but I think they picked it up towards the end of this feud, and they definitely have something going there.
Goldberg.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything CS just said, because I also feel like the big LG and Anderson they feel like Hall and Nash right now. They have a Scott Hall and Kevin Nash feeling. It's no coincidence. Obviously, Scott D'Amore mentioned it, I don't know, a week or two ago. So I enjoyed their feud for the time being. I do think it's over the way Ace and Madman appeared on Madison's show. It seems like that feud has probably come to a halt, but I did enjoy it for what it was. And yeah, even though the outcome for Ace and Madman wasn't great, it did catapult them, I would say, somewhat, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think, before this big wave of free agents came, I think those two were probably in line to be groomed as, not maybe if not champion, but being groomed as, main eventers.
Yeah, I
And
wouldn't have mind even seeing
can.
Ace get back into a main event type picture after what Eric Young and Eddie do, and with Madman by his side. But it looks like they're going more of a tag team role for those two for now.
Yeah. Yep. And that's fine. And and there's nothing wrong with that, because I think some of the best built, stars in our business have gone that route. I mean, we look at, James Storm, Bobby Roode, like there were times they could have pulled the trigger.
They did with Jeff Hardy too.
Oh yeah. Jeff Hardy as well. But if you look at Roode and Storm, for example, there were times even before Beer Money started that they could have maybe challenged for that world title and maybe been champion. But I think, even Bret the Hitman Hart, another one that's kind of on that same thing, where they go in this tag team and it makes them even bigger of a star. So
yeah, we can be patient with Ace because he's so young. So he's got plenty of time to keep building his character, which I really think he's doing a hell of a job at, and I'm really, really high on him. Kind of the same I am Rohit. I love these two as the future of this company.
Yeah, they're definitely. Yep. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say they definitely, like, Ace definitely has not only the charisma but the strength and the speed to really take it really far. I think he's doing a lot better than the current champion, but that's just my opinion.
But also putting Ace in that, just alone having him in that main event match, I think made a difference for the future of his career. Because I already look at him now as a guy who can compete with the top guys. Just the fact that he was in that match, even though I don't feel the same way about Trey Miguel, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on Trey. I got nothing against the guy. Sometimes I just wonder why he was the chosen one of the three. But it is what it is. All right, and then we'll do the main event of night one, and then we'll go into kind of the Wrestle House stuff. So, main event, we had Motor City Machine Guns defending their titles against the North. The Motor City Machine Guns were able to retain the titles, which for caught me by surprise.
Mhm.
I thought this was just going to be a quick thing with, Chris Saban's status kind of. Goldberg, were you pleasantly surprised that they retained the titles here?
I'm gonna make mine quick, because first of all, I'll just say I enjoyed the match thoroughly again for the second time that they fought, but I was very surprised because I thought for sure the North would get redemption on this and take the titles back. The way they were building this thing up, I really thought the North would win. I was pleasantly surprised because I do love the Machine Guns and I want to see them keep performing at the highest level with the titles around their waist. But I was very, very surprised at how this went down, that they just beat them fair and square like that. I really was shocked. But I'm intrigued to see where the North goes from here. That's all I have to say on this.
CS.
I was definitely surprised that the North didn't win back the titles. If this is anything to do with contract situation, even though it's a little bit further down the line, that could be a reason. If they're trying to sort of mix it up with other tag teams, that could be a reason why. Also, with Ethan Page, if they are looking to start building him up as a singles wrestler, maybe splitting up the team, that could be a reason why they're deciding to go on this route. Even though I really wanted them to win it, this could be the start of something.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really
off.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, they've been a team for a long time now. Not like long in terms of like 80s tag teams or 90s tag teams, but 2020 tag teams, they've been together for a while. So, yeah, we really didn't get anything from them on this past week, but I also really enjoyed the main event, and I was actually pretty happy the Guns retained because I think there's more possibilities with fresher feuds and whatnot. So I was happy for that. All right, let's kind of just talk about
Before we move on, I just want to say one more thing because I know I get on Impact constantly, the announcers and all that stuff, but I got to give credit where it's due, and I love being surprised by finishes, and I was genuinely surprised by this finish. I thought for sure the North would win the titles back, so I just want to give Impact credit for at least surprising me.
Did you guys, if you had to give a final grade for night one, Goldberg, what would be your score?
Oh man, you know what? Could you? I've watched both nights. Could you name what did they have? 4 or 5 matches? How many matches were on night one?
I mean, not including the Wrestle House matches, we had 4. Or I'm sorry, 5. 4.
Can you say them real quick?
So night one you had Rohit defeated Chris Bay and TJP. Right. You had Moose retain against Trey Miguel. You had the Good Brothers defeat Ace Austin and Madman Fulton, and then you had the Machine Guns retain against the North.
Okay, so this was a good card. I enjoyed the card. The matches were good. I liked night one, and I'd give it a solid B. And if Matt Stryker was on it, I'd give it a B+.
I enjoyed night one a lot too. I'd say it was an 8 out of 10 at least. Yeah, that's what I thought. CS.
Night one was pretty good, so I would say about a 7.5.
Oh, my bad. We're doing it out of 10.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can give letter grades or number grades, whatever.
Oh, B
whatever.
is about an 8 out of 10. I would say.
Yeah,
an 80. Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear from you, Goldberg, because the last 2 impacts you were kind of not so high on. So,
then maybe
that's
I
good.
should cut out before we review night 2.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too. But
me too.
Maybe I should log off before we get.
I thought.
Because
I thought
night one was tremendous. Compared to night two, night one was tremendous.
It's funny though, because that's kind of how I felt about their last TV pay-per-view, which was Rebellion. I thought night one was really good, and then night two was just kind of eh. So I don't know. That was just my thoughts.
All right.
Okay, Wrestle House. Let's just talk about this as a whole.
You know what? I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off, but
yeah.
I do want to just touch on one thing that is not wrestling related before we get into night two. Is maybe we could send some prayers out to Texas and Louisiana with what they're about to go through, because it is not going to be pretty.
No,
that's going to be pretty severe.
I think it was labeled the Category 4, and that was supposed to hit you, Goldberg, correct? And then it kind of shifted.
Yeah, I don't think we were ever really in the cone or whatever you want to say. I think we were okay the whole time, and they were projecting it to get towards maybe a little northern Florida, but now it looks like it's going to hit them dead on. So as we speak, I think it's going to make landfall any minute. So prayers for those people, and good luck to them, man, and all the animals, all the animals out there too. Yeah, that's not good. I hate to see it, especially when Australia had those brush fires. That was terrible too. To see all those animals burning. I always say, at least people can, they got a chance. Animals, they're just when there's flooding like that, I feel so terrible for them.
It's nothing. Yep.
Hopefully it turns out not as bad as they're expecting right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to even put more bad news on it, I think Hurricane Katrina was a Category 3, and this is a Category 4. Yeah, so well, hopefully they got better planning since then to just kind of
I know
some of the damage.
They evacuated like 40,000 people, so
that is good.
I don't know if anybody's listening from there. Good luck.
Yeah, everyone stay safe.
Yeah, definitely. If you live in that area, come up to the Midwest for a little while.
Yeah, and please take your pets with you, please.
Yeah,
please don't leave them behind.
Don't chain them up. Take them with you.
Please give them a chance. Take them with you.
Yes, I agree. Go. Whatever. Go stay at a Hilton for 2 nights, and if you're in Texas, go to Oklahoma or wherever you got to go. I don't know.
No, but CS, you're right, man. The worst is the people who tie them up. If you're going to leave them behind, don't tie them up. Let them have a fighting chance at least.
Put them up the highest area or something. Yeah.
Yep. All right, on to Wrestle House now. I kind of want to just go over this as a two parts. We're gonna start with CS, because CS, this is your project. This is your baby. I like Wrestle House, but I definitely you are the fan. So these last 2 weeks, we've had some interesting stuff take place. We had I loved certain parts. I like that we're getting a real, we're finally getting somewhere with Rosemary and Johnny Bravo. I enjoyed the Lawrence D. I enjoyed the Deaners. I thought they were pretty enjoyable. Crazy Steve did some funny things. What was your thoughts the last 2 weeks of Wrestle House?
I think it's still entertaining. They need to work a little bit with the performance. I got a little flack on Twitter because I said that Alicia needs just a little bit work with her dialogue. And of course, she somehow heard, and she was like, "Oh, my acting is great," and everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're wonderful." It's just the dialogue is kind of very off. I don't know how else to put it. I think it's all wonderful and it's all great. I think it gets a little dull in some parts. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like there's moments where there are a lot of awkward pauses, and not like funny pauses, but just like very awkward moments. Um, but I do think they're doing something right with the whole like romances and like you know, Susie and what was it? Now I can't remember his name. One of the Deaners,
Cousin Jake, yeah.
cousin Jake. That they have that situation going, which is fun, and the whole Rosemary Johnny Charles thing. I'm that out T-shirt. If I didn't think this wasn't good, I just think that yes, there's a lot of comedy, but there's definitely things that they could sharpen up and kind of smooth out the edges. There's still a lot of awkwardness to it, if that makes any sense. Uh, but they have something good here. It just, to me, there's a lot of awkwardness to it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I know what you mean with the pauses. It's hard to explain, but I get what you're saying there. But man, oh man, who I was impressed with their character work was Larry D. This was a guy.
Oh my God.
I
Yeah.
love the Lawrence D stuff. I think the Lawrence D was actually more entertaining than Larry D, because I'll tell you this, I knew the guy. I thought the signing was kind of odd because he seemed really indie to me. I don't know. This is the way he came off. He has got an interesting look, but I just when Impact signed him, because I watched him on the Twitch stuff, and I thought he was a good worker, but I just didn't really see how he would fit in. But he kind of impressed me with his character work this past week, and I actually really liked the whole Lawrence D stuff. I thought that was actually kind of funny, and I did appreciate the the Diener saying that he was Stefan from Family Matters. I did kind of like that, but
Yeah,
all right,
out of that too. It just brought me back to the 80s.
yeah, yeah. But I do agree with you though on Alicia. She seems like the only one that's doesn't really have a clear purpose there. I don't know if she's just trying to be like the conscience of everybody. I don't know, but I agree with you, and it's kind of sad. I don't think you said anything offensive. You were just giving constructive criticism.
Okay, wait a minute. I missed. Did you have direct contact? Did she reply directly to your tweet or something?
Yeah, she responded to I think someone mentioned Wrestle House. One of the other podcasts talked about the whole Wrestle House, and I said the whole thing is great. The only thing that I think they need to work on is Alicia needs a little more work. And I didn't go into detail, but I just thought like she just seems to be like, I don't know, adding in very like talk about.
So what did she say back to you?
You said that you wanted to see more of her character, right? Wasn't that part of it?
Like when I kind of I want to know there's mention about her, she being the conscience.
Are we losing
She's
him?
the one that
CS, you're kind of breaking up a little bit.
let's see. Any better?
Well, yeah. Now we go ahead.
Yeah.
She just doesn't seem to have a character, and she just, I don't know. She just seems like, oh, there's Eddie's wife. Like, I think she needs to have some sort of depth in character. Like, who's Alicia and what's she all about? Is she the dumb? You know, I don't know what she is.
Well, how dare you, CS?
I know.
All right. I
Horrible.
mean, come on, man. These, you know what? These are supposed to be professional wrestlers, and they have to go after everyone who makes a comment about them on social media. I mean, first of all, it's a completely fair comment because, listen, I'm just gonna flat out say it. To me, she has a resting bitch face, and she just always looks like kind of like she's pissed off, and her character does need development. There's no doubt it needs development. She has personality is like, I mean, there's no, it's monotone. There's no upbeat. There's no, she's down. It's just the same thing the entire time. And for a professional wrestler to really jump in, and I really don't know specifically what she said to you, but
it wasn't, I read it. It wasn't that bad. Like I don't feel like she was snapping, but I think if CS said anything, more that may have offended her.
Listen, I like her personally. I think she's a pretty girl. I like her. I like her I thought her role when Eddie Edwards was going through that whole thing with Tommy Dreamer, she did that. I thought she played that role great. I agree. I think her work, her character in the house maybe needs a little development. I think that's fair to say. And she's, I'm probably going to catch some flack for what I said a couple minutes ago about her face, but I think she's a pretty girl. I'm not like, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I actually think she's pretty, but she seems like, I don't know. I just want to say that I agree. She needs some work in the house, I guess.
Well, maybe she's just following in the footsteps of her husband now because now he's become all vanilla. So who knows?
Yeah, that could be. I think though you're absolutely right. I think everybody in that wrestle house has a different personality that they bring to the table, and Alicia. I don't know. Maybe it's just the wrestle house thing. It's just not clicking with her. I don't know.
Man,
like she's just trying to be the conscious.
The wrestle house thing is not clicking with me either. So she's not the only one. Oh gosh,
here we go. Goldberg, bring the negativity to the wrestle house.
Okay, when it first started, I wasn't negative on it the first time they showed it. In fact, I thought it was a clever thing. While COVID was going on, it's a clever way to put some people who you have absolutely no storylines for all in one place and give them all storylines together. It's a clever idea, but this shit has run its course, man. It's just not funny. It's not funny anymore. It's the jokes are just, there's one person in the house right now that is actually makes me chuckle a little bit, and that's Tommy Dreamer. He made another comment that was pretty funny when he said when he was talking to Alicia, and he says, I don't know where you are. I never do. Did you remember he said that?
Yes.
That was actually, I actually thought that was funny. I chuckled. But the whole house in general, with just having people randomly fight for 5 seconds, it's just what is the purpose of this? And it's taking up half the show. I'm sorry. Maybe my sense of humor is different. It's just not funny to me anymore. And it's run its course. It's the same thing over and over. The only serious match they had was, I guess, Taya and oh my God, Kylie, and everything else is a 5 second. Like, I don't know which show because I'm getting the two nights confused. Which show was it where the Swingman fought Crazy Steve? Are we getting to that? Is that the second night?
I thought that was the.
That was the second night.
Second night, yeah.
I gotta say, man, if that happened on any other show, I would have changed the channel immediately, and I changed the channel immediately on this. That was so over the top, ridiculously stupid that they're fighting each other with a mask over their head, and he's beeping his horn. I mean, it's not funny. Maybe I'm looking for a more serious thing, but I mean, what the fuck was that? Come on, like. Am I alone on that that match was ridiculous?
It was ridiculous, but I thought it was ridiculous for the right reasons. I enjoyed it.
I liked how the match got set up. Like even a blind man could see. That I thought was funny. I see. This is where the tone of the show. It's its own thing. And
Okay, but are you guys okay with as much time as they're spending on this house? The fact that on the second night, I was looking at, because I watched this Sling on Sling TV, because that's the only way I could watch Impact is on Sling, that cable provider Sling, and it's the only way I could watch the show. And on the bottom of Sling, it gives me a timer, and I can see the time of the show. It's 2 hours long, and how long they're into the show. The second night, when they were doing Wrestle House, are we going to review this for the second night, or are we just reviewing Wrestle House as a whole?
Wrestle House as a whole. You can talk about either night 1 or 2.
Night 2, by the time Wrestle House was done, they were 37 minutes into this show and only had one match. I remember back in the Nitro days, or even the Raw days, when the popular thing was to have guys talk in the ring or talk backstage, and fans would get on them for there wasn't enough action, there wasn't enough matches. You can't. To me, I don't want to see 37 minutes of talking. I want to see some wrestling, and that's a reason why I've tuned away from the other crap. And I gave AEW their chance. They fucking suck. WWE has sucked for years, and I was really looking forward to Impact, getting back on track. But it's too much time of not wrestling. Is that a fair argument?
Well, I don't see it that way, because eventually
We're losing him again.
CS, you're breaking up.
Yeah, my connection's kind of.
Hurls, you want to jump in?
Yeah. CS, see if you can try to get a little better connection.
Listen, I'm glad we actually have a disagreement here, because we usually agree. So I'm glad we have a disagreement. But Hurls, what do you think? You think you're okay with as much time as they're spending on this Wrestle House?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Because we got all the matches we were supposed to get in the 2 nights. Yeah. So I actually really enjoy. The matches aren't supposed to be taken seriously. Plus in the way they're, the venue they're in. But even that short Larry D, Johnny Bravo, I thought was actually really well done in terms of the storyline. It's not a great match, but he just, he took 2 big moves and he was knocked out. I actually,
first of all, I'll say this about Bravo: the guy can sell. He sold that punch like
yes, he did.
Tremendously.
Like Ric Flair. He did.
He sold it like Ric Flair.
That's what I love. That's what I loved about it. It's the little things like that. That's what I really enjoyed about it.
That was good, but it
was great.
Oh man.
Yeah, CS, it's really breaking up. Like every time, I don't even think we heard a word you said. Like we hear like blip, like we're playing like Silent Hill, or something, and you're on the speaker.
But you know what? Since we're only going to touch on Wrestle House one time here, I want to say that I want to give a couple people who I will say are acting well on this thing, and I think Tommy Dreamer, even though he doesn't have a major role, I think he's doing a good job on this, and I actually think sneakily AC Romero is doing okay. I think he's not a bad actor either, and to me this is an acting gig, is it not? I mean, this is
kind of
They're all acting.
It's a chance to show what you have besides being a wrestler.
And I think AC's doing okay, and I think the Jake, what do you call him?
Cousin Jake.
Yeah, Cousin Jake and whatever. Yeah, I think they're both doing okay. Their little beer thing was okay. I just think it went on a little too long. That's my gripe.
Yeah. CS, you sound like you might have a better signal now. Why don't you give your response to Goldberg?
Well, I was just going to say, with wrestling versus the non-wrestling, the wrestling community, you still have all those bits of wrestling throughout the show, but kind of want to build up to it. That's why you have all the talking segments in the beginning and all the personality and the character build in the beginning. You want to build up that heat, so when you finally have the match, you get the audience all riled up to deliver in that match. I think these days you have so many matches. A certain select group of fans who love that are going to go crazy for it, but when you want to attract the masses, it's going to take more than matches. And I think that Wrestle House can do that. I think you're right with there being a little bit too much comedy and it being a little bit too serious. And I think that they're still a little bit lacking in the scripting and the performance that, like I said, they need to tweak and sharpen that. But they need to build on that. I think it's still in a sort of a building phase. I don't know if they've entirely figured it out yet. That's probably why it's still kind of just not hitting the mark 100% for you, because they haven't found the balance for the entire viewing audience. How do you mix both of those up? Because I think it's good that they're having the matches in there in between, but it seems a little bit too cheap. I think they could put a little bit more money. If they could put the same type of production as they did with that Bound for Glory promo with Eric Young, which looked spectacular, and put that into Wrestle House, I think it'll get more eyes on the screen.
Okay, Goldberg, you know what the highest rated wrestling segment ever is, right? I mean,
no,
I guess you could say Monday Night War. Okay, This Is Your Life with Rock and Mankind. I mean, that,
okay, yeah.
I mean, that was,
right.
That had a ton of viewers. I think Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan, Saturday night's main event, drew a ridiculous amount of numbers, but that was, so long ago. But, I just think, I'm not saying I love, good matches. I love, but I also like this stuff too. And it's fine if you didn't like, I mean, were you a fan of the Broken Hardy stuff?
Yes, but because here's the difference to me. Matt Hardy was taken seriously in the Broken Hardy stuff. Yes, it was funny at times, but he became champion. He was winning matches. It led to him being the champion and the head of the show. And here's the difference with Wrestle House. Okay, this whole thing with Wrestle House, and this is maybe it's unfair to do to these wrestlers, but here's my problem with WWE right now, and the fact that Drew McIntyre is the lead of the show and supposed to be this unbeatable character when he's lost a million fucking matches when he was in that stupid group with Jinder
Three-man
Mahal.
band.
Yeah,
Three-man band, yeah.
And Heath Slater. And it's hard for me to take wrestlers seriously when they're done with their comedy skits and they're done losing a million matches in a row. And now these guys, when the Wrestle House ends, because it's going to end eventually, and these guys come out, they're jokes to me. They're jokes. I mean, AC and Larry D, as good of a job as he's doing acting right now, which he is doing a good job, he's a joke now. He's supposed to come out, and I'm going to take him and AC seriously as a tag team? If that makes any sense to you guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. That they're taking these characters and making them jokes for the future. How does Kylie's been kept normal, so maybe she can come out of this okay, but half the guys in this thing are being made out to be jokes. Even the cousin Jake or whatever I can't even remember the name of their tag team.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm able to separate everything that happens in Wrestle House.
Can you take Drew McIntyre seriously as a world champion?
I do after his Impact run.
Well,
not
that's
before
true. That helped. No, that did help.
That was what made him legit to me.
But when like Heath Slater right now, could you take him or Brian Myers seriously coming in and winning a heavyweight title or winning any kind of title?
No, they would definitely have to repair,
and it's kind of unfair
their
to
image.
do to them because it's not their fault. They just obeyed orders for years. But
right.
I mean, I hate making guys jokes, and that's what Wrestle House to me is. It's a joke.
I don't know. I've seen Brian Myers work out of WWE. We had him in Impact. We had him in that GFW.
The mainstream audience hasn't.
Well, yeah, no, that's true.
Here, CS, because I know you hate on AEW like I do. The mainstream audience does not know Orange Cassidy. We know what he's done right now with Chris Jericho and his angle and him putting his hand in his pockets, and it's funny and it's great and it's how who would take this guy seriously as a guy who could beat Chris Jericho, an established wrestler for years? He's a joke. You can't make wrestlers jokes and then expect me to take them seriously 3 months to 6 months to a year down the line.
I think, you were talking about the Broken Hardys, and I think that in the beginning, when it started, you remember people shit all over it, thought it was the worst thing in the world. They thought it was crap. They thought it was a big joke. It took time from that. I even remember when they did a comedy bit with EC3 and Eli Drake making fun of the whole contract signing thing. It was a big joke. And I think the difference there is that they kind of figured out what was catching on, how it was working, and tweaking it just so slightly. I think what helped is when they did the whole the bit with the Decay and the Broken Hardys with that whole home invasion thing, because at that point that's when they kind of took a serious tone to it, and I guess that's when they were like, okay, now we have the heels who are the faces, and that's when they were taking it seriously. But in the beginning it was like, it was awkward, it was silly, and it came off like a joke, but they figured out how to make it work. They held on to it. They kept it going because they knew it was going to catch on. I think in Wrestle House, they're trying to establish characters. They're trying to figure out what's selling with the audiences. What they need to figure out from this point is, okay, how are you going to establish these feuds? How are you going to take what is now a comedy, a joke, some silly stuff going on, and start taking some of these things a little bit more seriously? The same thing with Crazy Steve. At first, in Menagerie, he was a bit of a joke. He was kind of weird, silly. And then they tweaked him for DK. And then they had the right vision for him, which right now I still think he's better off as the DK Crazy Steve. So, of course, things are silly now, but all they need is a little bit of a tweak. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of awkward right now. But what they need to start doing is learning from the show what works and what doesn't. What are people responding to on the show, and what are they bored with? If people are not tuning into this, then they know something's not working. But if people are watching this, then they know something is working. It just might need a little bit of tweaking. And I get what you're saying about how it just isn't hitting the mark, because there's a lot of things that are just, I'm going back to that awkward. It just seems a little cheap and very low budget. And if they put in the right amount of time and the money, it will work. But it does need time.
Oh, you reminded me of the home invasion. That was so good. Made the Decay like just how creepy they actually could be. I thought that was just really well done. I might have to go back and watch that because you just mentioned
Hey,
that.
you know what we didn't mention, which is kind of minor, and I know we're going on kind of long here, but Abyss appeared on WWE TV for the first time.
Yeah,
Did anybody catch that?
What was it? Didn't they? Is his name Joseph Park there too?
I don't know. Did they name him? I don't know.
I'm
if they
not
gave him a name,
sure.
but
Yeah,
he
I'm not
appeared
sure.
with AJ Styles, which was kind of cool. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool. It's good to see him back in some form.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
All right. So then night 2, we started off with Eddie Edwards defending his title against Rob Van Dam. Now, Goldberg, I'm going to go to you first because I can already tell by the sigh that you did not like. I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Well, I don't even know where to begin. Rob Van Dam being in this match, there's so many things I want to touch on here, and I don't want to go on too long. But Rob Van Dam being in this match, this was not an announced match. Am I correct in saying this?
No,
Okay.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Yep.
Rob Van Dam being in this match made absolutely zero sense. That's number one. Number two, Eddie Edwards opening the match, defending the heavyweight championship, made absolutely zero sense because they put this belt in the rearview mirror by such a long mile already that, first of all, Eddie Edwards has no, and I don't want to ruin CS's thunder because I know you're coming for Eddie, but they have done nothing with Eddie Edwards and this belt, and they've had him open matches like with Moose's title, with the TNA title, which means absolutely nothing. He's opening matches against Rob Van Dam, who's limping to the ring with his girlfriend, who's shaking her ginormous ass, and using it to interfere in the match, which is so. Don't have someone come in and challenge for the title where I know, like, they've turned Rob Van Dam into a jobber because he had absolutely zero chance to win this match. He had no business even being in the match. And him and his girlfriend at this point are completely cringeworthy. And I don't even want to look at them on my TV anymore, making out and her shaking her ass. It's just disgusting. And I'm the furthest person from PC, but this is ridiculous already. It's not enjoyable to watch. It's not your typical valet guy coming to the ring. It's over the top. He's limping all over the place. He's not the same Rob Van Dam he was. This match fucking sucked. Someone's gonna cut me off, so just do it already.
Oh God! Wow. Okay. I'll go. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna let CS go because
I wasn't.
I need to bounce this.
But go ahead.
I thought this. Honestly, though, I thought this was RVD's best match in almost a year. I mean, maybe that's not saying much.
No, that's fair, Hurls, but he had no business being in the match. I'm thinking of storyline.
Okay. No, that's fine. But you did say this match sucked, which is fine if that's how you feel. I'm not saying that's not how you feel.
I should have worded it differently. The idea of the match sucked, I should say.
Okay.
Because
I agree.
I was so down on it that I didn't even really focus on the individual other than her hitting Eddie Edwards with her ass on the side of the ring. I didn't really focus in on the actual match itself because I knew RVD was going to lose. And I know in the end, Sami Callihan is going to feud with RVD right now. And I'm going to get into Sami's. I love Sami Callihan. Let me just get this out of the way. Let me get all my bullshit out of the way, and then you guys can take over. I love Sami Callihan's character. He's a tremendous heel, but we've seen this fucking this promo so many times where he's dark, he's scary, okay, he's going to beat up the guy, and he loses every goddamn time he appears on the TV. And I know this is going to be the one time he's going to win because now he's the face. Somehow he's a face and RVD's a heel, but it's just the same old bullshit, and I'm kind of getting sick of it. And this match why is Eddie Edwards opening with a title defense on a pay-per-view type of show? He should be in the main event. I'm done.
Yeah, he should be. Like I said, he's handicapped by the open call-out storyline.
He also has no character, and CS will get to that, I'm sure. But go ahead.
Well, he's the fighting champion. I think that's his character.
Yeah, we know.
You...
Oh, Madison's told us 100 times. Right. We know.
Right. No, but honestly, I thought this was RVD's best match in a year. I thought he actually had a match. Like before, it was just Katie Forbes overload. I told you a couple of weeks I did not like it. I was getting tired of her. I thought she was a little more like the heel tactics for some reason in this match worked for me. I don't feel like I got the overload like we have in past weeks. And I thought RVD, they gave him some time with Eddie Edwards, and I thought this actually was one of his better matches. But I totally agree with everything else you said, that this is not a main event match. This is not, or I mean, it should have been in the main event, and the placement's terrible. But like I said, I think they're just, they put themselves in a hole by doing this stupid open call out. However, I did like the Eric Young stuff that followed it. I did enjoy that because at least now that we have some heat going into a feud. So I'm going to let CS take over.
All right, so we have our vanilla champion, Edward Edwards, defending his, I want to call it, World TV Championship at the beginning of the show, and against Rob Van Dam out of nowhere. Again, no heat. It just starts out of nowhere, so don't care. I think I even changed the channel for a bit during this match. I'm sure it was a really good match for Rob Van Dam. He looks a bit his age, a little haggard now. So it just the whole lack of setup, and you want to talk about using comedy the wrong way. Just having Rob Van Dam and his wife just kind of bouncing around with their huge ass and making out, and it just looked messy, and I couldn't wait for it to be over, and thank God it eventually was over, because it was like, it's like, what's the point of having this on the show so you can fill a spot with this championship? Doesn't mean anything anymore. It's just like what's going to happen, even though like Rob Van Dam is supposed to be an amazing wrestler and all this stuff. It's like he's going to lose, and what's going to happen after. And the segment with Eric Young was great. I don't know. I almost didn't feel like I believed Eddie's anger. Like, where the hell is crazy Eddie? Like, that's the guy I want to see. But now it's like, I don't know, like, good guy Eddie, angry for very stupid reason. I just think it's silly, and it's not entertaining. It just, something about it. I know it's wrestling, but it seems so fake. It seems so forced. And I like Eric Young, but even his like crazy persona, there's a little bit of like, I just don't feel like I can even force myself to believe it. There's no suspension of disbelief. It's just like very forced crap.
That's CS is exactly how I feel about AEW, and I gave them a chance. And I know we're talking about Impact, but that's how I feel about AEW. And MJF, who everyone says is the next coming of the greatest heel of all time, to me he seems like a parody of a heel, and he's a joke, and I don't take him seriously, which is kind of what you're saying about Eric Young right now, which I don't entirely agree with, because I like kind of what Eric Young is doing. But that's how I feel about MJF right now, is that he's a parody of a heel. He's not a real heel. He's a joke. And it's hard for me to take anything AEW does seriously. And that's what I don't want to happen with Impact, if that makes any sense. And when you have a mystery opponent fighting for a title, that used to mean something. They used to have meaning where you're kind of wondering who the hell's coming out, who's going to fight for the title. Now it's just a bunch of fucking guys who Eddie Edwards is going to beat apart. And if this angle of Eddie defending the title has done one thing for me, it's made me dislike Eddie Edwards. I don't like him right now, and I want him to lose the title, and I hope Eric Young beats him. That's all it's done. And it's not Eddie's fault because this is the writing that he's been given, but it stinks. And I hope Eric Young beats him. Hurls, please go.
Go as in to the next match, or
no.
Okay,
I want to hear
keep
what
talking.
you have to say. Do you think that? I mean, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on Eric Young's character right now, since we just touched on that. But also, are you taking Eddie Edwards seriously as a champion right now, considering he's just defending the title every week as if it's just a regular Joe Schmo TV title?
Well, yeah, I don't like that aspect, and I've said that. I don't think they should do that with the world title. We talked to Chris Harris, and he gave his thoughts on that as well.
But what has it done to your thoughts of Eddie, specifically?
I don't really. I mean, he's been around for 6 years now in Impact, and it's not really changed. I just think it's a bad storyline. I don't look at Eddie and say, oh, he's not world championship material. I don't look at him I don't really look at him as any different. And I get where you guys, you don't like this. You don't like the character he's given. You don't like the storyline. That's fine. But I just feel like he's still a main eventer. And I feel like Impact is overcompensating for the fact that they didn't have their world championship or their world champion for whatever it was, 9 weeks or whatever. So I feel like they must feel that they have to do this storyline to give back to the fans. That's how I'm looking at this. For whatever reason, it might not be true, but that's how I feel. Like, I think that's what Impact's thinking, and I don't think it's the right call, but it almost feels like they have to make up for the lost time that they didn't have a world champion.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's good. I don't think it's the right move, but like I said, I'm hopeful that we at least maybe are getting, a legit long-term feud now. So, but we all know how this is going to end. And we said this 2 weeks ago. I mean, we know Rich Swann's going to be there. We know he's going to screw Eric Young out of the title.
Yeah.
And then, that's going to lead into that. So.
Fair enough. Here's what I want to ask you guys before we move on. I know, again, we're going long on this topic, but I want to ask you guys one simple question. Who in this company right now do you see as legitimately somebody who can win the heavyweight championship? Legitimately. Go. I want to hear you guys.
What do you mean legitimately? Story?
Who do you think could pass legitimately as somebody who can be a heavyweight champion and carry this company? For instance, putting the belt on Trey Miguel would not be a good idea. We know he can't pass as a champion. How many guys right now in the main event picture are there even that can challenge for the title and carry the company?
I could name a few guys.
Okay, I can name 3, so I want to hear your guys's.
Oh, okay. Well, I could say Moose.
Yeah.
Okay. I could say Madman Fulton.
No. I have 3, and then you guys go. I have Moose, I have EC3, and I have Eric Young.
Okay, when you say carry the company, I don't always. Okay, but I don't know. Let me finish this though. Yeah. I don't think the world champion has to be The Rock every single time. Why can't it be Yokozuna? Why can't it be Psycho Sid Vicious? That's how I'm portraying. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying the world champion has to be The Rock or Hulk Hogan. I feel like, that, and that's where I'm getting the Madman Fulton thing from. So
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all. That's why I'm saying,
because they've
Madman
made
Fulton.
Madman Fulton into a secondary performer. Ace Austin would be the main guy, and they've made Madman a second guy. Madman has the look, and he could be a champion. But I'm saying,
and okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. How was your question phrased? Are you phrasing it in the way Impact's writing it? Is that what
Yes.
you mean?
Yes,
Okay.
as of right now, who could
Okay.
you see the way they're writing it, the way everything's been portrayed? Who could legitimately you see? Because we know RVD's coming to the ring. He ain't going to win the title. We know that. Who coming to that ring? We knew Brian Myers wasn't going to win the title. Who coming to that ring could you see winning the title and being okay with it, being legitimately okay with this person moving forward as the face of the company? Because I don't love Eddie Edwards as the face of the company right now. And I like EC3, I like Moose, and I like Eric Young.
Well, okay, yeah, Moose, but I don't even know if EC3 could win it right now, though, because I mean he just came back. But yeah, you're right. I mean,
but he's a main eventer.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Moose. I mean, honestly, you would almost have to think about splitting up the North.
Yeah, because my point is they just don't have enough guys right now that they're trotting out RVD and Trey Miguel every week, and just needs to be a couple more guys in this. All right, I guess I got to give them time, but I don't know. I think there needs to be.
It's a bad
they're not
story. It's a
telling
bad
you
storyline with the heavyweight title. There's no way around it.
That's my point. That's all I'm trying to say.
They're not developing.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Right. CS. They're not developing anybody. They're not developing legitimate competitors to take on this title.
See what they did with was it Trey Miguel and Ace Austin when they did that whole gym fight?
Yeah.
That's how you do it. That's how you build it. They were going somewhere with that, and they could have. That's how you build.
And nothing happened. Nothing came from that.
Yeah, and nothing. See, and then they do crap like that where they just let it fall away. Now, I was actually going to agree with you. Moose, definitely, because he's got the size, he's got the personality, he's great on the mic. EC3, same thing. And then actually, Ethan Page, he's already working towards being that total package of everything you need as a champion. You don't have that with Eddie Edwards, especially now, because he's just not believable. Yes, he's a great wrestler, hands down. One, he doesn't have much of a personality. He can't carry the company as he is right now. When he was crazy, I would have said I was all in for it. I was entertained. But now it's you need someone, you need a superstar, and they're not building anyone to be a superstar. They have people there who could fill that spot, but they need to start building everyone up to be Impact superstars. Right now, they're just putting people in the ring. They're just wrestlers. We need superstars.
Well, I think, Man Fulton is a guy that eventually they could go to if he decides to break out from Ace Austin. But,
Sure.
Ace Austin.
But he just lost to Hernandez a couple months ago.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
All right, second match. We had Brian Myers versus Willie Mack, and we had like a promo earlier with Brian Myers kind of calling out Vince McMahon. I thought that was kind of interesting, but this match really had no build. Willie Mack ends up losing. This was kind of hot-shotted. But I mean, I get it. You got to fill time, but I don't know. I have nothing wrong with the match itself. And like I said, Willie Mack is taking a lot of L's since losing this X Division title. I don't know. I just didn't understand that. I get that you need to establish Brian Myers here, but I don't know. It was just kind of there for me. I'm a huge proponent of both of these guys, so whatever. But CS, why don't you go?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. It was just filler. They didn't really need to have a match. They could have done something backstage and, have it kind of works throughout the show. You don't have to have every segment filled with a match just to fill it in. You can have fights anywhere. What you're trying to do is build the heat. And you could have had this. Well, I understand this is more like their pay-per-view event. So I understand they need to put it on the show, but I don't think it was the time for that. You definitely want to, if you want to have a feud between them, add a little bit more heat, have them fight, have them have a split apart. I think this was thrown in there way too fast. You could have done something with this a little bit better, but they were just, like you said, hot shotting. They just wanted to fit a match in there. And it just didn't seem to have a good place in the show. It didn't make sense.
Goldberg.
Hurls, you take this one first. I gotta go ahead.
Sure,
you go
sure.
first. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I already kind of gave most of my thoughts. The only thing I could see this is just kind of developing Brian Myers as being a heel. That's about the only thing that may be positive out of this, but maybe, just maybe, they are developing a longer term feud between these two, just because of the roll up win. Willie Mack, might want to get some revenge for that, possibly. So that's the only thing I can think. But you did hit the nail on the head there. The fact that this was a pay-per-view event, they had to get more matches, I'm guessing. But I don't know. I just wish that maybe instead of Brian Myers challenging Eddie Edwards, maybe they could have had him go after Willie Mack, and then we would have had a little more build-up at least. But I don't know. It was just kind of there, and I kind of want to wait and see where this goes, I guess, a little bit more before I really, really judge it. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna. So let me jump in. So
yeah,
I have one gripe with this match, is that they came in and had they had all these what do you call it? Not promos. Vignettes for Brian Myers. So when you come out teasing somebody, and you come out making them like if you have vignettes for somebody, you're expecting them to make a difference when they come in, and they're supposed to be taken seriously as somebody who's really going to compete in this company. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Having to roll up Willie Mack, who's lost 10 matches in a row, having to cheat to pin him, does not exactly put Brian Myers over. First of all, I love Willie Mack, and what this guy does in the ring is like Samoa Joe-esque. He's a big guy. He can move around. He's a heavyweight. He's an X division. I love him in the ring. I really do. But for some reason right now, he's the man who's being buried. He's losing every match. But Brian Myers should not have to cheat to beat a guy who's losing every match. That's my only gripe with this match. Otherwise, I thought it was a pretty decent match in the ring, and the actual match itself. What do you think about that? Do you think Brian Myers should have had to pull his trunks to win the match?
Well, as I was just saying, like, I mean, if they are going the heel route, I don't have a problem with that. But at the same time, I get what you're saying. I don't like a ton of squash matches like AEW did for like basically the whole Dynamite episode. But, maybe a squash match against some unknown may have helped him here just to build him up a little more.
That's a fair point, Hurls. That is a fair point. Enough with the squash matches. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Although I'm not a fan of the debut squash matches. Like, we had those vignettes, but it really didn't tell us enough about who he was. I always feel it's better not only to have like character vignettes, but you want to start something backstage or outside, kind of initiate some sort of heat to build up towards a match. If it does have to be against an unknown or something, just initiate something somewhere beforehand before you have the match. I personally am not a fan of all of a sudden they show up and they're in a match and that's it. There's nothing. It's I don't care. Great, he's a wrestler just like everyone else, but give me something to anticipate about this person going into the match. Why do I want to be into this match? I mean, I don't care if I don't know more about them.
Fair enough. I before we talk about the main event, I just wanted to say I did enjoy the Heath promo. I thought that was pretty good, and it's pretty obvious that him and Rhino are gonna team, I think. But I did enjoy Heath's vignette there, and the guy has some mic skills. I'll give him that. Did you guys like this? Real quickly, did you guys like this?
I'll just say yes, and then CS can go.
Yeah, I agree. He's got it. And he's definitely got that main event feel, so keep pushing him.
I wanted him to get a singles run, honestly, not a tag.
Yeah, I was hoping they wouldn't go just. I mean, maybe it's just a one-off against Reno Scum. Who knows? But
maybe
or to maybe, maybe to draw in. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say maybe he's going to turn against Rhino because the whole thing didn't turn out in the beginning.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah. Goldberg, any final thoughts? I thought you might have had something there that you were going to say.
The only thing I was going to say is maybe teaming them up brings in some fans who were, we used to watch WWE and maybe would like to see these two team up again. I don't know.
Oh, that's possible. That's a strong possibility. All right. Main event, Deonna Purrazzo, Jordynne Grace, 30-minute Iron Man match for the Knockouts Championship. Deonna Purrazzo wins right at the end. I like Deonna Purrazzo. I don't really have a problem with Jordynne Grace in ring, but I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it was, I don't know. It was just kind of there. I think I'd be more excited for the Kylie Ray Deonna feud that's going to be coming up here. Goldberg, why don't you go here?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I kind of fast forwarded through this match. It didn't interest me from the beginning, but I did watch the last 5 minutes consecutively because anytime you have an Iron Man match, you kind of know what's going to happen at the end. You're going to have somebody win at the very last second, and it was predictable, but it didn't. The match wasn't bad. At least the last 5 minutes that I watched, it was nice, good action. It's just another predictable match to me. We know Deonna's going to retain. She's a good champion, and I like her carrying the women's division right now. And I do want to see Kylie get out of the funny house and start feuding with Deonna now.
CS?
I'm kind of with Goldberg here. I really wasn't interested in waiting throughout the whole match for that. I kind of felt like they were trying to impress Dave Meltzer because he didn't give them a very big score for their last match. But it was fine. It was a match. It was, and like you said, it was predictable. I definitely think that Deonna should continue carrying the title. Possibly start a better feud with Kylie, because for me this just isn't working at all. I'm not following it. It doesn't impress me, but hopefully, something with Kylie will be a little bit more entertaining, and maybe they'll really create a little bit more heat. I mean, in the beginning of this feud, there was definitely a lot of heat, but by this point, it just kind of fizzled out for me. So I just wasn't sold on it. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mind the feud. I like Deonna Purrazzo. I like how she, she's more technical, I should say. And I did like the ring psychology that she has in her matches. So I didn't mind that fact, but I am looking more forward to Kylie Ray for sure. I think I was kind of done with Jordan Grace. Hopefully Jordan Grace gets some type of new direction because I don't know. She's just kind of there.
Yeah, right out the back door. That's the direction she should go in.
Overall thoughts, night 2. I know we're probably not going to give this very good scores here. I'll just go and give them 6 out of 10 just because I did like some of the Wrestle House stuff, but I did like the RVD match. I think I liked the matches, just the storylines weren't there for me. CS.
Yeah, I will probably agree on the score and say about a 6. The storylines for Wrestle House were entertaining. The matches were okay, not very well built. That's why I was a little. I just couldn't put them over. So it was okay, but not something I was anticipating. So I would stick with the 6.
And Goldberg.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 4.5. I didn't enjoy the show at all. I didn't enjoy like if you're gonna have a women's Iron Man, I think that should have opened the match. I mean the card. I think that should have been the first match on the card. And I think Eddie Edwards fighting someone other than RVD should have closed the card, or even Moose could have closed the card and let EC3 take the title. Was that this episode? Because now
that was the first one.
Okay, my bad. Okay, well then Eddie Edwards should have closed with Eric Young, because that's your main event. That's your heavyweight championship. Let Eddie Edwards in the back looking for Eric Young as you go off the air, not at 8:30. My time, I guess I should say. Not 30 minutes into the show. That should be closing the show, not opening it. So I didn't enjoy the show. So I'm gonna go 4.5.
All right. Well, that was Emergence. Some good, some bad, some ugly, some great. It was a little bit of everything. Hopefully, next week we'll start getting some fresh feuds and all that good stuff. So
do you guys also, before we close the show, do you guys kind of feel like Wrestle House may be coming to an end with kind of what Taya said about Rosemary there? With the winner take all and this is it, and maybe coming to an end.
It might be. I mean, you guys know the location of Wrestle House, right? Like the actual location.
I don't.
No, I don't.
Okay, so apparently that's either Jimmy Jacobs' new house or it's Artie Evans' new house. But either way, I guess they just moved in and they had this idea to do this because there's no furniture in it. Or there's furniture, but there's not like all the stuff was moved in. So so whoever it was decided to have this and be like, here, use this, So I guess that is the backstory on that. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That I did not know. If it's a house someone is like kind of slowly moving into, it does sound like it's eventually going to have an end.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that they could do more with this type of material. I just think they need to improve on it. And if they need to change the location or take that kind of setting and put it in a different location, I mean, there's a lot they can do with this. It doesn't have to be somebody's house. It could be like, I don't know, at a diner or something. I have no
Anything.
idea, but
Right.
Well, I think when fans come back, this thing is not going to go on anymore. Obviously, they're not going to show it on the big screen in the arena. I mean, it'll probably be done when they allow fans back in the arenas.
yeah, but you can still here's
Pre-tape.
the thing.
You can
Pre-tape.
pre-tape. Yeah.
It's a TV show. It's
Yeah.
still a TV show. You got people that show up to watch the arena show, but it's still a TV show. And if you're gonna make the whole show an arena show, you're gonna be just like all the other wrestling shows. You want to be different. And I think this is a great way to be different. So I mean, it's good to mix it up. It's just how you mix it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, any final comments? Because I think I've said everything.
Yeah, I think I've said
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
Too.
Yep. Yep. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week's HeelCast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We will be back next week with another episode of the HeelCast. For Goldberg, for CS, for Hurls, we will see you next week.